The regular meeting of the Henderson City Council, July 20th, 2022 is called to order. The first order of business is minutes of the June 15th, 2022 meeting. Are there additions or corrections? If not,
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion made and carried. We have with us this evening the LSH referendum committee along with Superintendent Wagner. And we give the floor to you.
Want me to go first? So we can go around, have some public meetings, doing some presentations on, from the school district's perspective, just the facts of what the layout is, what's part of the process. So like penguins there. All right, so let's see. Alright, so the layout of what we have, so we're getting information out as far as early voting from voters. Started on June 24th. So people that want to do absentee ballot or absentee voting, so they can do that at their respective locations where they would normally vote in an election year. Election day is on August 9th, which is tied into the primary in the area. As far as the proposal, how it differs from the one previously, this particular one, by having a new elementary built in one location, allows us to maximize staff between two buildings. It drops down the cost of transportation. It does not have a field house, and essentially a new building is encompassed with the new efficiencies of what are needed to bring utilities and those types of costs down. And then the big thing for the fifth bullet or the fourth bullet is that we had to get costs down. So with this particular proposal that we are looking at, it's to be as cost effective as we can possibly make it within the current constraints of current economy and that type of thing. Our review and comment came back from the state positive. Basically, that means if you have a negative review and comment from the state, you can still go forward with the vote. It's just that you would need a supermajority in order to do that. Supermajority is 60% plus one. In this case, because it was a positive mark, you just need a simple majority plus one in order for it to pass. This is the current layout at the middle school, high school. This property here is owned by the city of the sewer, that 10 acres with the community center. This 3 acres is owned by I think I told us the family that owns this whole area here. The school district line there's a fence line right here, so this is not part of the school district. And so this whole space here is approximately 33 acres. This is just a concept to see how much space you need for softball fields. So for question one, if it were to pass, the new elementary would be on the east side of the middle school, high school, right here. The parking design is designed to get traffic off the main street if the new building were to pass and bring it in on Kingsway. And then the design has an elongated loop in there, so that way if parents want to drop their kids off, gets the traffic off the street and keeps it more contained inside the parking lot of the loop. So once they drop off or pick up, they can drive out and then whichever direction you need to go. It's also designed with a separate pre-K and a first grade through fifth grade area for a play area. Trying to be cognizant of the different age levels and just the level of play that they do. Right here is the current location of our tennis courts, and then right over here would be addition of the career tech area, if the third question were to pass, expanding this to allow for a separate automobile area for career tech education for the students. And then this red arrow over here is to put back in place a garage door that was inefficient, so they just bricked it up. And so the idea is that we put this large garage door back in here, we could have more larger projects for students to work in the woods area or the construction area, so that way they can bring their projects in and out in this whole area. And then the career tech welding area will be renovated to be more modern with the standards of what businesses are looking for training. Question one, this is a lot of legal jargon, but in simplicity, the big thing to focus on is that the cost cannot exceed this amount for question one. And so the idea is that for a new elementary building, when we put this together, that we cannot exceed that. And so what's entailed with the new elementary building for question one are these different bullet points. One is the demolition of park. There's $500,000 set aside for that. There's the gym space. The state requires a minimum of 2 cross courts. And I'll talk more about the storm shelter here in just a second, but it has to have a storm shelter. That's a new requirement since last summer of 2021. The state requires that you have to have a separate open space that can handle wind speeds of up to 240 miles an hour. So essentially I call that a bomb shelter. And then obviously the different areas as well. The building obviously will be air conditioning because it's a new building. So an entryway here, so this is just going to give you some modern, more secure entryways, so when people come into a building, they have to come into the office people can see who's coming in, and limits entry based on who they see coming in. Another example of this is this picture here, where you have to come in this section here before you can get access to the actual building, with trying to make it more secure, safe, and allow us better control of who comes in and out of the buildings. This is a new modern media center. The building right now, the preliminary drawings has it as a 2-level, basically because they're trying to get the cost down. So if you have a 2-story building, that's cheaper than having the square footage stretched out over the large area. This is what a typical classroom would look like in a newer building, trying to maximize the natural lighting from the outside of the windows. Trying to, with an elementary building, using more colors, try to simulate more of the primary colors that you use in an elementary building, but also having the windows for classrooms. Again, for people to see kind of the learning that's going on and the activities that are happening in the classroom. Some of the things that we're doing at reducing the cost, one of the things with the demolition of the park building is I'm looking at meeting with different developers to possibly sell that portion of it or to turn it over to the city. If I can do that, that eliminates $500,000 right off the bill of what the expected cost that we go up to. Storm shelter, long story long. The way they have it set up, you have to have, they were looking at having 45 occupancies per classroom, which means that they want eventually a storm shelter that would house about 8,000 square feet, or about 8,500 square feet. And the normal thing that they're looking at now, architects are using gymnasiums to do that. If you think of a gymnasium, the precast walls and the height and the ceiling, what that looks like, the costs are astronomical in order to develop that. So I met with the state, talked with them, they agreed to allow us to, instead of doing a storm shelter with 45 occupancies per classroom, would be occupancies of 25 per classroom, which then drops down what we need for an open area of only 4,000 square feet, which turns out to be about, in essence, the size of what 2 wrestling matches, full-size wrestling match would be on the floor in an open area. So in that way, you reduce the cost significantly. I'm hoping anywhere between $1 million and $2 million possibly to bring that cost down by not having to do it with the gymnasium. Because obviously the storm shelter now can be shorter. You don't need, it's not going to be 25 feet tall with that amount of casting and all that kind of stuff. And the other thing we're looking at also doing is using custom tension fabric for for the gymnasium instead of a precast building. I got a picture of what that looks like here. So what those do is it drops the cost down to only a third of the cost of a precast building. Still functions as a gymnasium. These structures are actually more efficient. They're built around a steel frame structure, so that way it's secure, but it's much more cost efficient. So again, trying to bring that cost down to be as efficient as possible, but have something that's nice that both communities and parents and kids enjoy using it and like to use. Question two cannot move forward unless question one is approved. So question two takes care of all the issues of what we have for boilers, basically the utility side of things at the middle school, high school. And so that list is this here. And so this list here are all the things that have to be done. That wasn't part of the previous bond back done in 2005. And so the reason why these are outlined, because if you look here, the question is we cannot take more or ask for more than $6 million. And the question has, what we need to have done is at $8.2 million. So these are highlighted in red because since we had to put the question together, I secured a performance agreement with Honeywell. Honeywell is going to be doing these updates for us. We're able to use our LTFM dollars to cover that. So these 4 items will no longer be part of this question. So now we can focus in on this, because initially going into it, we knew that because it was more expensive than the question was asking, we'd have to prioritize what we could or couldn't do. But now because we've got these off of here, obviously if you add all these up, it's significantly less than that amount for question 2. And then question 3 is $5.65 million, and that is the expansion of our career and tech area with that automotive area, and also a 3rd cross court. Right now, with question 1, it only has 2 courts in 1 gym space. We're looking to add a 3rd court on that gym space in order to keep the same square footage that we currently use during the academic day for all of our students. With having all the students in 1 location, we need that space. So if we have bad weather, whatever happens, if there's something going on, and we have to have both recess and fight classes in the same area, we would have the space to be able to do that. What else was there? And then also, like I said earlier, we're renovating the current welding area and then the new garage door for allowing large group projects in classrooms, projects for them to be able to do the work inside the high school. So this is kind of a close-up of that area here. The reason why we have the design to be more square than rectangle, so it doesn't match the edge of the current structure, is it's easier with 2 lifts to be side by side versus one in front of the other, so you can move one side in and out if you have one side occupied. So in the case of this picture here, this is in Minnetonka. They have limitations because if you have in front to back, you have a car back here, and one here that's being worked on longer than the one up here. You have to move both cars in order to be able to get them in and out. And so we want to be able to, do better at trying to make sure it's more efficient with bringing cars in and out independently without having to be dependent on the other. And then we have a question and answer area as far as the most frequently asked questions. It says, is there a drawing or plans for the new building? You saw the concept of what we have. If the bond were to pass, then staff, community members would be brought in to look at the specifics for what exactly, how the interior would look of the building. To do that prior to a bond would cost anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000, and it wouldn't be a good use of dollars to do that prior to a bond in order to get that stuff done. Do we have to bond the entire amount? Do we have to bond the entire amount of bonds? No. We can bring those costs down, and we're doing that and trying to figure out all the different ways we can. We do not have to bond the full amount. We only can bond up to it if we need it to cover the cost. Yes, we did take care of what we had before. Back in prior to 2014, the state of Minnesota had LTFM dollars, but the LTFM dollars were coded differently. LTFM dollars were only accessible to the 7 county metro school districts if they met the square footage. And so in 2014, the legislature finally changed that regulation to allow access for all school districts across the state of Minnesota. And so, selfishly, I'll tell you right now, if you ever go to the Twin Cities, there's a reason why the interior of the buildings look nice, because they've had access to those dollars that we have here in rural Minnesota. And it's frustrating that it took and those dollars have been used up in the Twin Cities area for around 40 years prior to this. And so having access to those dollars allowed them the ability to do many of the renovations and updates that we couldn't do, and any school administration and board prior to 2014 had to determine for the maintenance dollars, where do you take that? Do you take it out of the classroom, do you take it out of positions, or do you sacrifice the buildings to try to maintain programs that you have? And that's kind of the dilemma that previous administrations of school boards have had to deal with. But now that we have the LTFM dollars, we're doing everything we can, just that obviously with the park building in the state that it's in, it makes it difficult to have enough to be able to cover what we have to do with that building. This is a picture of the current state, so back to that question. So if you notice here, this here is the legend of the ages of the school district buildings across the state of Minnesota. And so to my point, this top one here is age of buildings and school districts that's well below the median. The median average is 40 years. So this is well below. The second one here that's yellow is slightly below the median average, 40 years, age of the buildings. The orange one here is slightly above the average of 40 years. And then the bottom one here is well above the median average, meaning that the buildings are old and dated. And if you notice all the red, you notice how much red is out of state Minnesota, with the 7 county metro area, with the exception of St. Paul, are all pretty modern. So you can see how the state of Minnesota has had to deal with that. And our school district is down right here, red. The only district next to us that's red is Cleveland. And so I point that out in essence that because of where your families are right now and what they're looking for, new families are looking for modern, new buildings for their kids. And I know I can speak for myself when my wife and I looked and we accepted the position here to come to the sewer. Had the high school, middle school not look like it did in the condition it did, I know that I would not have accepted the position because I want my kids to be in a building that's modern. That's just for me. I can't speak for everybody, but new families and being transient and moving is not that difficult anymore. Why do school districts have varying tax payments for the taxpayer and building bonds? Well, the two main factors is how many people are in that school district paying for it, and then how much was the bond that they did in order to improve their facilities. And so obviously each individual household is kind of dictated based on the value. And so depending on the number of people that you have there, obviously more people moving both to the sewer and Henderson allows the ability to bring the tax burden down on everybody lower. The more people that move out, increases that tax burden. If the referendum passes, the new school will fill up and become overcrowded. How are you sure that will happen? If this happens, it's the best thing that could possibly happen, because then the school district is getting state funding for the students that attend the district, and it allows the district then to continue to offer programs and be on the cutting edge of trying to provide a decent educational experience for our students. If we get to capacity, we can just simply then close enrollment to any open enrollments into the district. A number of districts have done that. And so what you would typically do is that only residents that move into the school district would be allowed to enroll their students in the district. So we got low capacity. Hopefully we get to that point and we never have to open enrollment again. With inflation and high taxes, it just went up. My taxes will increase even more, so why should I support this now? And so I thought this question was an interesting one. So I looked at some of the historical data. And so this is a 30-year building construction on inflation. And so it goes back from 1990 to slightly over 2020. So it's modern up to 2022. And so if you look at the trend, which direction it goes, it hasn't really gone down. And I've asked people when would have been a good time to do the So then I thought, well, let's look at it closer. Look at it from the shorter time span. So here's from 2009 to 2022, and then this is the cost index, or construction index. The gray is the national average. Minneapolis, which obviously that's our comparison, is the blue line, and you can kind of see where those are gone. And then the last slide I have on that is the material pricing. So at the start of COVID, back in Q1 of 2020, you can see everything's at zero here. And you can see where the costs have gone over each quarter up to Q1 of 2022, where they're at percentage-wise. I would like to think they would come down, but it's hard to feel that anymore after looking at the two previous slides. So these are the different materials that are used in any particular building. The next question, what will a new school do for our district and both communities? The big thing is providing new families and current families safe buildings, secure buildings for the kids. Allows the district to be more efficient with sharing staff between two buildings in one location to cut down on the travel time. It's hard to schedule staff members when they have to travel that far and trying to maximize how many we need and where to use them. Obviously, one location allows more activities because we have a bigger space to host things, and then we want to make sure that we're in modern learning styles and practices as education. Why not build in Henderson? The previous construction company, UNESCO, did some studies with the land up there. There's issues with the surface if you build a building big enough to house that many kids. And then the other thing is the transportation savings, and it's more efficient to have the majority of the students, or most of the students are located in one spot. It's cheaper to transport because we wouldn't be sending as many buses from Henderson to LeSueur versus LeSueur to Henderson for the cost and the gas prices. We have to look at everything we can to save money. Can you vote yes for one question? Yep, you can definitely do that. Just that 2 or 3 say they were approved and one wasn't, then none of them votes. What happens to the softball fields and tennis courts? If all 3 are passed, softball fields and tennis courts will be located and moved to different locations on the school district property. If only one question passes, the question tennis courts will stay where they are, and then the softball field, I'd have to figure out where on our school district property to locate them to make the most sense for what we have for space. What happens to Hilltop? If the referendum passes, we're in the process of redeveloping our area learning center. And so Hilltop will continue to house the 4th and 5th grade until a new school opens in approximately 2 years. If it fails, Hilltop 4th and 5th grade will be here this school year, 22-23, and then starting in the 23-24 school year, all students will be located at Park Elementary to reduce the cost of busing and again, to maximize the use of staff between the 2 buildings and cut down travel time. When the students will be relocated to Park and/or New Elementary, then Hilltop will become our area learning center location to allow. Right now, there's a really need for students for an alternative setting, and so we can pick up an additional 30 to 50 students based on the waiting list in St. Peter, Civil East, Belle Plaine, TCU do not have an area learning center, and so it allows us to have a space that we don't have to change the structure at all to be able to offer programming within that space. We're also in the process of resanding the floor to be able to utilize the gymnasium to host events, school events there, but also other things that we can use the floor that would be useful for the community. And what an area learning center is just a different style of learning for some students. We know that what we would call a normal setting doesn't work for all students. We know that we're looking at a graduation rate. The idea is to offer a spot for students to go to learn within what's in their constraints within their life. Some kids, we have some students who are teenage parents, we have some students that are on their own trying to work and get an education, and the ALC provides the flexibility of their schedule that allows them to do that, and also to participate in the activities that we offer at the school district. Referendum doesn't pass. Park House, all pre-K to 5 students. Our LTFM dollars right 3/4 of our dollars go towards park. We would have to use whatever we have to get park ready to house everybody. The bond is not passed right now. At this point, I have no plan that both communities are in a spot where this doesn't go. I have no plans to bring back the bond at this point, because this will be the second election year, less than, or just 6 months, and I don't see the need to continue to put both communities through this if it's something that they don't want. And then at that point, as a district, we'll have to figure out what to do with park. I can go as long as it's possible. Like anything, if the building gets to a point where the state council looks at it and doesn't feel it is feasible, then we'll have to deal with it at that point. And when will that happen? I don't know. It could be tomorrow, next year, 10 years, 20 years, I have no idea. If it does pass, the construction timeline would be to open the new elementary in the fall of 2024, and then Hilltop would remain the 4th and 5th grade building for an additional year. And then construction would begin as soon as it's possible to start working with the weather in the spring of 2023. If it passes, then that I talked about earlier, the subcommittee would be put together with students, staff, parents to look at finalizing the design, and then tours will be set up to look at other elementaries that are new to design and try to make ours specific to what both community needs are and what they're looking for in the elementary building. The referendum passes, what will the maintenance plan do, or what is the maintenance plan so it doesn't get the condition parks currently in? We've submitted a 10-year plan to take care of the buildings. Part of it is that performance agreement that we have on the main item for the high school building to take care of that, to provide the longevity and to make that building much more efficient than what it currently is, and to save money over the long haul with utilities, and making sure we take care of the roofs and anything else that goes with building maintenance. These particular programs, Kids Club remain at elementary, and then a preschool in Henderson. We determine that based on the needs and what we have for space. We would have it at Hilltop, for space there for it, or keep it in its current location. And then the adult-based education would be dictated based on what the need is and where it would make the most sense between either having it in Henderson and or at the new elementary building. And as far as voting, like I said earlier, voting started June 24th. You can vote by mail. In person is in the precinct on August 9th. And that's the last slide that I have. Any questions?
Why should Henderson get excited about this? I don't see anything here for Henderson.
Well, the big thing for Henderson is it's part of it's part of the school district. My focus is on both Missouri and Henderson. My previous district in Wyoming, very similar to here. We had a big town of Brooklyn, which was a town of about 4,500 people. A small town of Casey, which was about 100 people, which Henderson's obviously larger than that, but Casey was 44 miles away. And it's important that both locations are represented and are part of it in the sense where if it's one district, there are people that are looking to live in Henderson and they're looking for a school that will service that. And so we look at what they want. New parents are looking for some nice facilities and proximity to other districts. And obviously the sewer is going to be the closest one. The next closest is going to be Belle Plaine. Right now I know Civil East send somebody down, or they send a bus down, the bus kids over to their district. For the elementary they got to go all the way over to Gaylord for that, then up to Arlington for the high school level. For Henderson, it's a matter of trying to still maintain their identity.
Trying to?
Absolutely. Because I think that if Henderson, let's say Henderson wants to get themselves out of it, or doesn't want to be part of it, okay, they voted no. All right.
We voted for the last one.
Right. But I'm saying,
And we got punished for it. Because we came back with nothing for Henderson.
right. The last one was, I think, the Henderson that supported by 17 votes.
Yeah.
And
There was Sewer.
right.
Yeah.
And the hard part is taking in the history of what's both communities have done and worked and not worked together, from what I've seen. And it's a matter of maintaining that identity that both Henderson is just as part of the district as the Sewers. And for Henderson, I want to make sure that we keep the Hilltop Building Education Center. I want to bring activities back to Henderson so that way and get it back involved that both locations are a viable option for people that are looking to be in the school district.
Well, I've been here for a long time, and I remember 30 years ago when Henderson kept being reassured that Hilltop would stay open and would always stay open. So, I'm not happy with this.
Maybe I'd like to say something. I'm a school board member and a community member here. I understand where you guys are coming from with that comment, but Hilltop will remain open. It's going to be repurposed as an area learning center where we're going to have 9th through 12th graders who are going to come into town, buy groceries, buy gas, eat at the Roadhouse, go to Tubies, which is different than what we have today for 3rd and 4th graders. And as Henderson residents who has children who attend all 3 buildings, what's in it for Henderson is a good, viable school for our kids to go to who live here. I'm not from Henderson, but I've lived here for a pretty long time. And we as a family are contemplating moving because of the lack of coming together that the 2 communities do to make what's best for kids. Our kids, whether they're Henderson kids or Stewart kids, deserve a good school district to go to. A safe, secure, good place to go. And we have to come together to do that. We're going to lose families like mine who come here, who pay taxes, who eat in town, who take part of the activities that are in our community. And I live up on Maple Ridge Drive, there's lots of families there, and we need to have a viable school district together for families to move here. Or if you are to buy our homes, and we've got to come together, and we as a board are doing everything we can to bring down costs, to be efficient, but still have a presence in Henderson by looking at the ALC. We worked with Lon on the baseball field to help partner with that. We partnered with you guys on the compost site, the bus garage. We're refinishing the gym so we can have games again. We're cleaning out the locker rooms so we can have games again. We're keeping the softball program over here. We're doing everything we can to make sure that we keep something here in Henderson, but we have to fiscally be responsible because it's hurting our kids.
This was always where it was going to come down to, is that the closing of Hilltop would be based totally on economics and no argument that says Henderson deserves a community school, Henderson is a real town. We are at the mercy of the sewer at this. Good luck to you. If it passes, I'll be amazed.
Definitely.
You know, bring up the compost site, the ball field area. And I realize it's a benefit to Henderson, but you could have turned around and sold lots off of there for a lot more money, and I don't understand coming back to get money for this and a move like that. Just bugs the hell out of me.
We could have, but we were wanting to make sure that we work with the schools. The school works with the city to partner. I agree that we could sell off all Hilltop.
You're right, but you're coming to the taxpayers for money that you just threw away.
We didn't throw money away. That's not.
Well, when you gave the land away, you did. Right?
That's the way that you look at it. That's fine.
Well, it's a fact.
But we did not throw away money. Our job is to work and partner with the city of Henderson so we can all work together and be both better communities. And that was what we did with you guys. Same
We
with
appreciate
baseball.
that. We appreciate the ball field.
Yeah, and it allows you to have games here again, to have people come to town, come to the Roadhouse. It's a partnership, and until these 2 communities start partnering, this is a huge problem in this community. And as a person who's an outsider who moved here, it's really hard to want to stay and raise my family here when we have this much. You're hurting the kids. You're hurting the kids, Henderson kids.
I think this conversation is just getting destructive at this point. And I understand your points, but I don't think we should sit here and argue in front of the cameras. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
2025?
2024.
Okay, and then you said you're going to move the tennis courts if it passes. Was there going to be indoor and outdoor tennis courts or just?
So just the outdoor.
Okay. And is any, so you're going to be doing a lot of work to the, the Park Elementary classrooms and everything. Is there going to be new technology that will be part of?
15% of the overall cost is your what they call it soft costs, your furniture, technology aspect of it. Having a building hooked up so that way it's essentially wireless. Part of the problem with renovating is that a lot of the walls in that building are clay, and because of age, Honeywell, when they looked at the building, when we talked to them about possibly doing part as well in its current state, they wouldn't touch it because of their concern is that when you get into renovation of a building of that age, your costs are never what you can estimate, you don't know what you're getting into. They have the issue of the asbestos in the building as well. And quite honestly, there's no proposal I can bring to any group where there's not going to be somebody that has some issue. And so the hard part is trying to figure out what's going to make the most sense. And you're absolutely right. We could have sold those fields, no doubt about that. And so I was at a spot where when I make decisions for a district, I can't make decisions based on strictly money alone. I have to make decisions based on what's going to help and be beneficial for the communities. And based on the information I was given, having discussions that I had, I made the recommendation to do that based on because I felt it was beneficial for Henderson. And it's knowing that there's a dollar amount that I left on the table that I didn't get for that. And I was okay with that because I felt that, you're talking about what does Henderson get out of it, what does Henderson deserve? I felt they deserved it. They deserved to have that opportunity. So it's difficult because there's literally nothing that can be proposed with any of the stuff that they initially talked prior to me coming here. But there isn't something that, some aspect that either community has to essentially have an issue.
Well, I'm not against, personally not against you having it in school. I just want to make sure that we're smart with the money.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And that was my train of thought going into the process. And so that's how I approached it. So, was it right or wrong? I'm sure
You have I have count of how many students from the Henderson area versus goes to Le Sueur versus some go to Mankato, I understand. Some are in Civilly. How many students do we have total and how many of those are going to Le Sueur out of that whole?
Out of the total, the percentages, I can give you a percentage, some basic percentage of students that live in Henderson. There's a basic, it's broken down by a third. 1/3 open enroll out of the district, 1/3 attend the New Country School, and then 1/3 attend the Sir Henderson School. The exact number, I want to ballpark, I want to say it's either 142 or 162. I can't remember exactly what I thought of. I just remember the percentages would be essentially a third, a third, and a third on where they go. There's a number that do go out to Mankato, there's a number that go out to Belle Plaine. I think the highest number that I recall was to the east. And then again, there's another third that attend the New Country School.
What's current enrollment or projected enrollment for this next school year?
The next school year, we're projecting between 940 to 970. Right now, we're currently at 950. And that's a moving target because we have a lot of parents that are trying to still decide yet in August. Last year, obviously, projected 920. We finished the school year with 946.
So how are you going to guarantee that, and when you say your enrollment is down, when you get this new school, how are you going to guarantee that enrollment's going to go up just because you got that new school?
Honestly, there are no guarantees. Other than death and taxes. I mean, and so, yeah, I mean, straight with you, that's how it is. And it's not necessarily a bill that they will come up. You also have to look at, you build it and you want what you have here to stay. I do know, like I said, when I shop, I'm looking for the quality of the facilities. I'm also looking at the quality of the district. Half of this is on the district to be better at what we provide as a curriculum and what we do for our students. I mean, we have to take ownership of the idea that we have to provide the best educational opportunity for our students, regardless of what our facilities look like. But we do know that when parents come to That's been some of my frustration back, if you look back in the 2000s, for whatever reason, education was pushing so hard at 40 degrees, and now look what we got with the shortage of the certain.
I got a couple sister-in-laws, they got degrees and neither one ever did what they went to school for.
Yeah, right. I believe that. But yeah, I mean, my focus is making sure that as a district, I do everything I can for both communities. As a superintendent, that's my obligation and what I have to do. I can't guarantee anything other than I'm working with staff and working with administration to make sure that we provide the best education for all students. That's where the area learning center comes in, because we're not providing the best for all our students. And some of our students don't fit that mold of being in a normal educational setting. And so the nice thing about having an area learning center is that now we can give them access to our elective courses, so they can do part-time here, part-time there, full-time here, pick up another class here, there. That's where the career and tech area comes in extraordinarily valuably for these students, because they need that exposure to be able to have that access. We're starting an FFA program now this fall. I'm really excited about that. We're having 2 communities that are as rural as we are. We finally have an A program that we can offer in the school system. I think that's important to have.
So worst case scenario-wise, how much the residential taxes are going to go up here per family?
So on the school district website, there's a tab that says bond. And on that bond, there's a company called Elders. They have a calculator that if you enter in your actual parcel number, it'll give you exactly for you specifically what it is. We have a generic form that we have, but I find that the generic form is not useful because we only use a certain number of values. So either it's say it's 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, and everybody falls between that. I always recommend that people that ask, go to the website, put that in. If you have multiple parcels, more than 10, you can contact them, and then they will contact you directly and let you know exactly how each of the parcels are impacted from the bond.
Will that be the same for agricultural land?
Yes.
Farmers can.
Yep, absolutely. And then the nice thing about it now is that 26% of the overall project, if it were passed, gets paid for by the state. There's a farm tax credit now that's at 70% difference. And so essentially the numbers come down to, if we look at the total cost, 26% that comes from the state and is not put on a land that has been in the years past. And then I also recommend for any residents that qualify, there's a homestead tax credit for certain incomes. Of all the school district residents that qualify, only 30% fill it out, and that's been around since 1984. So I always recommend for people to make sure they have to fill it out every year to get that tax credit, but it's based on your income in order to qualify for that tax credit. So irregardless of what happens to the bond, I want to make sure people look at that and fill that form out. And the form is also online for people who want to print it out and fill it out and submit their property taxes. Thank you.
All right.
If you hold that button down,
Who knows? Great, thank you to City Council this evening. My name is Krista Luna, and I am a co-chair of the Vote Yes Committee for the Henderson referendum. I'm Erin Simmons, I'm also co-chair of our Vote Yes Committee.
And I'm Brianna Petzel, I'm a member of the Vote Yes Committee.
So our committee is made up of 13 individuals from both communities. We have parents from Henderson, parents from Leesure that don't have children in the school district yet. We also have about 6 or 7 educators and a former LSH graduate as well. And I think three of our parents are from Henderson, correct? None of them have kids in the school yet. So we just appreciate the time to share our story as to why we support the school district with this referendum. So why do we believe this is the best plan? Our children need a safer, more secure place to learn, as Mr. Weiger pointed out. Our entry isn't safe. There are many things within, well, we need a safer entry. It is secured. It could be even safer. more secure building and a healthier place to learn as well, which I will show you. The cost to renovate park exceeds the Department of Education 60% threshold used to determine when to renovate versus build new. So we could renovate park and put all of our money in there, but it's a lot of money. It's upwards towards $20 million, and we wouldn't see a lot of the things, a lot of the improvements. So putting, a lot of our taxpayer dollars, and then taxpayers probably wouldn't be so happy about that, but they can't see it. Voting no isn't free. The school board could vote to pass a lease levy, and we would not have a say in that. And that lease levy, I think, can be, in November, it was up to about $14 million that the school could impose on taxpayers, and they could do that to just get park up to date and some of the things that need to be replaced. Our enrollment will, as some of our parents will talk about in a little bit, our enrollment possibly could take a bigger dive than it has taken. Parents are looking for those safe and healthy environments. And that money that we would be putting into it would be continuing to put Band-Aids on the problems that we have rather than permanent solutions. The efficiency, our buildings aren't efficient, utilities, and then staffing. We have staff that goes back and forth, which is taking away from student contact time, which is the most impactful thing in education to make a difference in children. And then busing, the cost of busing children between Lesueur and Henderson, Lesueur goes to Henderson, Henderson to Lesueur, all that money could be used elsewhere in the district. So being as efficient as possible to minimize busing. We have 2 routes right now because our times don't start in the 2 elementaries, our times don't start at the same time. So there's one route that maybe goes rural, and I could have a household with a Henderson child, a Park child, and a high school child, and the bus would pass my house twice. So you think about our increasing costs of gas prices and that fluctuating cost, and we put a lot of money into that as a district, where we could be putting that into the education of children. The CT, career and technical education fields, are in high demand, as you have talked about, and we need to renovate and expand just a little bit our existing space to be able to enhance our programming and compete with area districts and the need that we see in our communities. Our track and tennis courts need to be redone. I'll show you that in a little bit. They are currently unsafe. Construction costs have continuously increased, and they will not get any cheaper. We saw that in those graphs and charts. The future of LSH is at stake. Who knows what will happen if we can't use Park Elementary? Will there be even an LSH anywhere? If we want our communities to grow, we need to draw young families. Young families want that new modern day facilities for educating their children. So I'm going to show you some pictures I took at Park. This is the gym at Park. The floor here is beyond repair. We can't even do this floor anymore because the boards are so thin. So you can see damage and what has had to kind of be, I suppose they use putty in there. This kind of, it's all over the gym floor, but this was a good picture of it to show. I think I'm talking here also about, we're not ADA compliant for our handicap accessibility. So anytime we tap into our building anywhere now, we're going to have to get up to compliance, which is a huge expense, and there's a lot of that throughout Park. This is in the 1930s part of the building, believed to be asbestos tiles. There's warping in our floors in that part of the building, and if this doesn't pass, children will be back in these classrooms. Right now it's used at the district level upstairs, and children will be back in these classrooms. So something will have to be done, and that money will have to come from somewhere. And then I reference back to that lease levy that we could be looking at. Here is our current heating units at Park. I would not feel confident having something looking like this in my house. It's been repaired and repaired again. And right now, if anything breaks, it all has to be special ordered. There's asbestos in those pipes. Yeah, just looking at that, it's scary looking. Here's some more down from the way of the room. put on the roof over the years has led to issues, and here are issues, and we are not allowed to use the auditorium. So we're talking about the health of our youngest people. These are some cosmetic things in the building, but of course these could never be addressed. We don't have enough money to do cosmetic. These are the air conditioners, so talking about every classroom, almost every classroom has the window air conditioner, so extremely inefficient. The windows themselves are not efficient either. The picture on the right, cracking foundation is found throughout all of the building. I don't know how much it impacts the structure, but when it's over all of the building, I'm guessing there's more issues behind it. Here's that entrance that Mr. Wagner talked about, where they get buzzed in here, but then they literally they're walking into the school, they don't have to see another adult, like going to the office or anything. We hope they would, but this is not the most secure entrance either.
So who buzzes them in if they get buzzed?
The office, and we have a camera system, but we have to trust them that they're going to the office. They could either go to the right to the office, or they go to the left, and there's classrooms closer than the office. Straight ahead is more. Or straight ahead is more, yeah, so it's a scary thought. A staff person who works at Park Elementary right now, and I've worked at Hilltop, it's a scary thought as a parent. So it's just a scary thought, and it's sad that we have to prepare for it, but we need to be ready for it. I went out to the tennis courts, and I don't have a tennis player, so I was appalled when I went out and saw the size of the cracks and the unevenness in the playing courts. I didn't put all of the pictures in here, but this has to be taken care of. It's a huge price tag. I never, as a community member, thought that tennis courts would, cost that much, but obviously something needs to be done with those, because this is definitely a safety issue, and it's a program that's growing in our district. Again, just the cracking, the wear that has happened over the years. This is our track, and I walked around the track and just took some pictures. It was really hard to get pictures of, what is happening, but the bottom part, what is this thing?
The red part. Right.
Oh, right there. I do know my car is attached here. So this is like underneath the track, and this part right here is the layer that they brought on. So this is all cracking, and all across here, it's uneven. And this is in a few places throughout the crack. So we actually are not able to host section track meets or beyond, just our conference level, I think. We're not able to hold any of those playoff type, I know baseball terms on playoff type meets, and it's because of the condition of our track.
Excuse me just a minute. Doesn't the football field need to be redone as well? It should be rounded.
Yeah.
And that's not in the plan.
It's in the plan.
Oh, okay.
He didn't mention that, but that was my question too, with some of those extra dollars that would be updating the boiler systems and then some of those athletic activities as well.
So with the football field being upgraded, if it passes, I know that some group just approached our fire department for money for some type of field goal camera. Will that move, or what is the status of that?
I'm not sure the status of that, but if there's a camera part of it, it'll just be a matter of moving it where we need to go, so that way it will still be usable.
The football helmets can use upgrades for safety.
Right. This is our classroom part of our woods area, our shop area, and this is where there used to be a garage door, and with referendum passing, we put that back in and kind of reconfigure the space between these so that we would give students the
the ability to be able to build things like sheds and mini houses and give them more of that real life experience outside in the work field. So preparing them for those CTE type programs. And this was kind of a summer collect out area, but this again is part of our welding area, and so this is part of that CTE, kind of revamping that whole space on the north side of the school there to really enhance our CTE programming to provide more opportunities for students. Okay, so as the Vote Yes Committee, what we have been doing, we formed in the spring, shortly after the new plan came out. So we still had a couple of months left of the school year where we were able to connect with parents at different school events. So, concerts, awards banquets, just different events that parents would be at. PTO Carnival Night. Last election, only about 40% of LSH parents even showed up to vote. So we're really trying to get the word out to parents about this upcoming referendum, how important it is, the addition of park, why we feel it's such an urgent time. So we've been really targeting and trying to mobilize our parents to get out and vote. We've been, in June, we started phone banking, calling both parents and community members, and then sending, follow-up text messages, reaching out. We're continuing to do that into July, and then next month before the election as well. So making sure we can reach people, let them know about the referendum. When we first started phone banking, a lot of the initial people we talked to did not know about it or did not know many details about it. So just being someone that we can, answer their questions, direct them to where they can get more information, things like that. We did some fundraising so that we could send out a mailing, and then we'll be doing another mailing coming up closer to the election. We're just getting out and trying to talk to community members. That's part of why we're here tonight, just really sharing our personal reasons for voting yes, why we think it's so important, connecting with others. We're going to start canvassing, going door to door, sharing information about, how to find your polling place, how to make sure that you're registered closer to the election. And then we have a Facebook page where we've been sharing just daily information that we've been able to reach quite a few people on. Some of our posts have reached, close to 4,000 people. We post on there daily. We posted a lot of the FAQs that Mr. Wagner was talking about. We've shared photos and different testimonials of community members, why they're voting yes, things like that. We spoke to the Henderson Independent, who ran an article. The Leesburg County News has done a couple of articles. So we're really just trying to get the word out and share, accurate information with community members about the referendum and why we're voting yes. And then, so you obviously just heard Mr. Wagner's presentation. Now we're up here. We are different from the district because the district can provide educational information only. They can't encourage voting one way or another. So we're kind of came together to do what we can to identify and encourage supporters. We're able to share our personal feels as to why we're voting yes and why we think community members should too. On our Facebook page, I do a lot of the responding to comments and messages that we get. A lot of people write in with different questions and just like sharing with them our personal reasons or answering their questions, I think has been really helpful. And just making sure people have accurate information, especially from when the plan first came out to now. I think I've seen, tremendous growth in just the community's understanding of the plan. So we kind of talked a little bit already, Aaron talked about what we plan on doing, but we are continuing all of these things, going door to door, reaching out to populations who may not otherwise vote, just continuing to share facts. Working with businesses to do voting day election day specials and advertising those for businesses to get people to just go and vote and make sure that you're an educated voter. So now do you have your? Yeah. We just have a few more things.
Yeah, so kind of just wanted to share a few of our personal reasons of why we're voting yes for the referendum. As I said, I'm Brianna Petzel. I'm married to Greg Petzel. I lived in rural Henderson for 10 years now. He grew up here and we raised our family there today. We have 3 young kids who aren't yet in school, but we'll 8 weeks old. So really why we're voting yes is we want the best for them, but not only that, we want a safe place for them to go. And I have to say, Mr. Mayor, I'm very disappointed when you say, what's in it for Henderson? I very much feel a part of this community, and my kids are, it's going to have to be safe, really, is the bottom line. And a healthy space to learn and to grow. We don't really have the option to move because we farm here, but we will have to get going to school somewhere else if this doesn't pass, because we don't feel like this is an acceptable place for our kids to grow up and be educated. So
They're all giants. They're all
Yes.
giants.
So, sorry to get emotional, but it's very near and dear.
Yep, I totally agree on the same thing. It's heartbreaking.
I am also a parent of 2 young kids who are not yet in school. Actually, we have 5 parents on this committee. All of us, between the 5 families, we have soon to be 13 kids who are not yet in kindergarten. So we are all in this really critical decision-making time and have all had conversations with one another and with other young families in the area of what are we going to do if this referendum doesn't pass, because we do not feel comfortable with the current condition of the park. And 3, like Krista mentioned, 3 of those families are from Henderson, and the biggest issue is the safety and security and, learning environment for our kids, not where the location is, because we've all decided, if the school is not up to, what we need to be acceptable, we will open it all if we have to, and that's not what we want to do. Bree has lived here for the last 10 years, but I just moved back last year. We just had another friend who's on the committee who just moved back this year. We don't want to move. We don't want to open enroll. We moved here for a reason. We love raising families in a small town. We love being raised in a small town. That's what we want for our kids, and for them to go to LSH and have a similar experience that we had. And it's so important to us, and that's why, this winter we all talked. Our friend emailed Mr. Wagner, said, how can we get involved? We've been doing this with all of our free time since the spring, because it is that important to us. And I just really want communities to sense the urgency of this vote. Like when Krista says the future of LSH is at stake, there are so many families who are in the same position as us who are considering what else they might do for their kids, let alone, like Mr. Wagner was saying, the future of park is up in the air. We don't know how long we will be able to house kids there. So, it is really very dear to all of our hearts, and just a really important issue that I hope both communities can see.
And as a parent and educator at LSH and texting community member, urging people to vote yes 3 times on August 9th. My children won't personally reap the benefits of most of the money spent because they are graduated. But my friends' kids, my neighbors' kids, my future grandchildren, and the future generations will go to our Hendersonville. And in my elementary classroom, Band-Aids can solve things. But on our elementary school, where our youngest learners go, those Band-Aids are becoming a waste of our taxpayer dollars. And our children deserve a safe and healthy place to learn. So please join us in voting yes for our children and our communities. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Screen? Right, no? Not even school district screen.
Did you get it?
What's that?
Did you get it?
It's my screen. I'm not getting that, I mean, like, a lot of money,
So I'll go ahead and chamber.
Yeah, go ahead.
So at the last chamber meeting, so currently the chamber puts up the flags and the banners. And the chamber members feel that it should be a city drum, and most cities take care of that. So they're asking that the city take over, and take the lead on it. Chamber members said said they would still help take them up and down, but they just don't want to be the lead on anymore.
So what does the lead mean?
You organize it. You get the boom or the lift and find out when we need help. And,
We supply our loader, we supply Bruce.
right, so we'd like Bruce to organize it. The chamber said they'll still help if asked
Yeah,
with handbook.
this is not gonna do itself.
So when it comes down then to cost of replacement,
Yeah.
who's gonna replace the flags and banners?
Currently, I believe the Legion does the fundraising for the flags, the American flags. The chamber probably would still take the lead on the banners if they need to be replaced.
Come on.
I'm not just representing the chamber, so don't shoot the messenger here.
Not shooting the messenger.
Basically, they want Bruce to decide when they can do it, make sure he's available with whatever piece of equipment they use, and then he can contact the chamber and say, okay, here's the date and the time.
Was there a problem in the past, obviously?
Yeah. Because Bruce's schedule has been pretty,
I mean, you wanna know what's going on, or, I mean, you really wanna talk about what, where, and why, or you wanna?
I don't know.
Well, so why was there a problem in the past? Just because
I
it's
think Bruce has been off quite a bit.
That did nothing to do with Bruce.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Different people have been organizing this in the past. The different people are out of the organizational aspect. The chamber never really per se did it. It was what would be part of the, our nonprofit Friends of the Community Pride group and the Legion group are the two.
Yeah.
The two heads of those groups organized setting this up. And then they would work with Bruce, and then Jeff would put together a group for the chamber.
Yeah.
There's been, of the chamber organizing group, they get contradicting stories and organizational things from the Legion group and the Pride, former Pride group or whatever. So,
I mean, I would just say if you said Bruce, we're gonna put the flags on Wednesday at 10.
but Jeff doesn't want to do that. Jeff wants Bruce to tell Jeff when they put them up or when they're going to put them up. And then Jeff will get that lined up. Before Eileen and Ned had lined it up, and Jeff was in the back door of doing whatever. And Jeff doesn't want to work with Eileen. Jeff doesn't want to work with Eileen and Ned, but they might be it. So,
We need a flag committee.
I think we probably do need a flag.
I think so.
they got two flags in it.
Well, I know, but we need one too.
You got the flag banner committee from what would be part of the chamber. You've got the IDA committee from the Legion, and then you've got the flag banners committee from the community pride.
Right.
You know,
So
and
Jeff's not willing to call Bruce and say, hey, what day next week works for you?
he just assumed that Bruce would pick out a day, which then I told Jeff that you got a better chance than not that Bruce is going to call you to pick a day, you know? So well, then I'll call him later, you know, so. But when you see to your point, you do help. I mean, Bruce, either Bruce isn't available, which he isn't most of the time, because they put him up either on a Saturday or Sunday or whatever, so this year we.
What time of the year they gotta go up and what time of the year they?
Fall and spring.
Yeah, exactly. Just
So they gotta get them up before Memorial Day, so the flags are up for Memorial Day, and then they spot them up in the fall before it snows. They try to keep them up, I think, for Veterans Day in November, and then.
Where are they stored?
Are they stored in the Shari's shed, or are they stored in the basement?
I haven't asked for a while because if I ask, I know where they're gonna go. But
some of it's in the basement, but at the
that, I mean, stuff that up at what now is our, you know, which now we're using up at the bus drive. I mean, there's stuff that Vagabond in there that the school had no interest in ever before the week goes up there. You know, we moved around, so we could use that space up there to put those things in, which is maybe now a more appropriate place than where they have them. You know, so that may not be an issue anymore as to where they're at. We could put them up there, and Bruce or whoever could then just go get them and move them about. The other thing is wherever they have been at in the last 5 or 6 years, the chamber or community pride or region that have access to them. If they're going to be up at bus drive, nobody else will have access to them but us, so then they would have to coordinate that with the city or with your saying.
I think we should pile them on top of these stop blocks because I don't want them in a building or a road once they're gonna start heating up the material.
That was my thought, was rodents, unless there's somewhere to secure them in a, you know, most-proof cabinet. I don't think we got anything like that.
Most everything, there are a couple trailers up there, so you probably could get them secured on a trailer or on a trailer bed or whatever, you know. But yeah, you're right, you know, and it's not the stuff that isn't used, you know, when you're seeing where they're at, some of the flags are up, some of the flags either are not in good enough shape anymore or got all, not all the flags are up. Some of the banners aren't up, some of them are busted. This also, then the next thing it's going to lead to is the Christmas decoration. Because what you're saying, what do they swap out for? They swap out for these ones that go up now, the Christmas banners go up. And quite honestly, I don't want to speak too much for Jeff, but he doesn't have much willingness anymore to put any of that Christmas decoration stuff up. So,
Have you ever seen it?
but yeah, I mean, if there would be any choice whatsoever, we just put those banners up. And until our streetlights down on the east end don't work anyway, and until most of those Christmas decorations have got shorts in them, so as soon as they go up for 2 days, when the streetlights do work, I mean, they go out, and when that XL because XL is sticking with 2, that's the other part. Jeff thinks, or whoever doing the stuff all the chambers, that XL is mad too, because when some of those banners, when they're on there, those poles, a lot of those poles we got there, Chelsea, are not in good shape. You know, so depending on how you mount these banners and everything, all on there. If something tips over, whose fault is it going to be? I mean, the chamber doesn't want to be their fault either. So, I say, there's 4 to 6 poles that aren't in good shape. You know, so.
Well, I would say the banners we could put down on top of the lovely style ones, the cloth banners, the Christmas, that green Christmas stuff that's flying in the wind most of the time, the closest dumpster is where I go with that.
The chamber does have a fund for fundraising for the new Christmas decorations whenever Main Street gets redone, but that project keeps getting pushed back, so we really haven't done a lot of fundraising because we don't know when it's going to happen.
Well, I think that's where some of this stems from. I mean, when it gets around to Christmas time, you got these people that are talking on, let's make this place feel a little more Christmassy and do whatever and do. I mean, the Christmas stuff that we got are banners. I mean, that's those banners in the chamber. And if somebody would get to the point where they accept that's what we got as a community until this other project, then some of this stuff will go away. I mean, then you would really be only into switching out one banner for the other and putting flags up.
Well, if the Christmas decorations are in that bad shape, we probably could stimulate more fundraising activity to get new ones if we just don't put them up. And everybody will say, put them to the Christmas decorations.
Or we put them on the poles, but we don't plug them in. So the next cell won't be mad that I don't know.
But if they get just as many, why aren't they doing it?
Half of them were out last year anyway.
I mean,
I think they're stored in the basement at hometown, I think they're great.
so that, I mean, I don't, if we do take them, yeah, I agree, you just put it up. I mean, they're, that works.
The flags, though, that are bad shape, should probably go to the VFW, so.
I'm okay with Bruce, our is in that position to be in contact to say, we're gonna put them up.
Right, but let's send it back to the chamber to remind us that it's time for Bruce to say.
Reminders,
Because otherwise,
to remind us, to remind us.
It will take Bruce's responsibility, but, yeah.
Can we nominate Amy to be the reminder?
We will.
Absolutely.
all right, that's out of the way. How about here?
Eric's here now.
Just got done getting the new phones in vet for, just finished it about 4 o'clock. So we're gonna get new phones in vet back for the squad car. And that'll be free of charge on Verizon. And I talked to you about the interview. We interviewed Connor for the job. And I emailed him 2 or 3 days ago and he hasn't responded and he hasn't sent back the background check.
Did you try calling him, maybe we don't have his contact?
Or message them, because a lot of them are seeing them.
Anyone that sometimes is posted, yeah.
I'll try that.
That's true.
Call him too, so. Nuisance stuff, I haven't started on it yet. I gotta take pictures, because our nuisance thing, you sent me the one nuisance thing that was good with the, there was one on the computer that actually take pictures and send a picture of what you think is the nuisance. And then email it that, so. I'm doing that pretty quick, so. I sent in a street light report to Excel, and they started on that, I have no idea. And in the last month, we had 10 traffic stops, 1 OFP violation, 1 assault, 1 burglary, 1 animal complaint, 1 alarm, 1 theft, 1 public assist, 1 911 hang-up, 11 community policing, 1 noise complaint, 1 park permit, and so far I've gotten 3 ATV permits applied for new ATV. And I am in compliance with the post order as of now, but I might not be at the end of the 31st, but I should be on the 31st. So.
The property there down on the corner by the levee, like the grounds where all those cars, did we ever get an update from the state patrol as to what we're doing?
I called, I left a message over there. I gotta call again, maybe I'll try a different number. They didn't get back to me. I called over to the Mankato State Patrol and nobody returned the call, so.
If you call again and ask to talk to Captain Smensky, okay, so
Okay.
I think there's been some changes down there.
leadership, yeah.
No, I mean,
There's a whole bunch of cars that disappeared during like the last week.
yeah, some new ones showing up.
Well, there's some newer finishes now, so.
But there is some change.
I will do that again. Start on it this
Did you officially retire?
week. Yeah, July 5th, I retired from the States.
Congratulations.
These, nuisance things, are you gonna hand over them, because I know some of these people won't open them down anyway.
I can, I've done it before, so.
I think our ordinance is set up that after so many days, they automatically get cited.
Whether they're notified or not.
Yeah.
Well, they have to notify it first.
Yeah, you have to notify first, but then they have so many days to comply with the
It's like 10
request.
or 15 days.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
SEH, Chris was trying to get, Kristen and Rachel together for a meeting on whatever they were talking about.
I'm on the Soldier Runs with Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation. I rescheduled for this meeting.
Oh, you were, I thought you were with the other group.
Sorry.
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 No problem. Can I?
Yeah.
Do myself? Okay, thank you.
I thought you were with the school group.
No.
I have some packets and information for you all.
Thank you.
So thank you for being flexible. I was supposed to be here last month, but being sick.
Yeah, I thought you were with the school board crowd.
No.
I thought you were a school board member, I didn't know.
No problem. No problem. It was an interesting conversation. So learned a lot about Christmas decorations.
I'm Melissa Olderbrunks, and it's Smith for short. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for your support of Smith. Everything I talk about is only possible because of contributors such as yourselves. And I really just want to give you an update on what we've been doing in the area and tell you about a few things that are coming up that I think you guys can utilize. So, with that, I'll just dive in if that's all right. Okay. So, Smith, we're continuing to really try to keep all of our communities in our 20-county region strong and vibrant. We do that through three main areas of focus. We assist entrepreneurs. We support early childhood education, and we also have community vitality efforts as well. Of course, the last few years have not exactly been completely normal. So one of the great things about Smith is we're able to really jump in and step up when we do experience different crises, such as the pandemic. Typically, we give out about $5 million a year, but we were able to contribute an additional $20.3 million to pandemic relief efforts through different partnerships with organizations such as STEAM. So that was really exciting, and we're happy to be able to act as that part of it. I'll mention a little more about it as I go through the areas. So our largest area is really assisting entrepreneurs. First and foremost, we are lenders. So keep us in mind if you know an entrepreneur who maybe needs a little assistance. We have lending pools anywhere from helping downtown street businesses all the way up to venture capital. And we really like to be working in partnership with other financial institutions such as local VA funds or local financial institutions. One of the great things about partnering with Smith is we're actually able to provide one-on-one technical assistance to those clients, and we're really trying to build that out even more in the coming years. And we have seen that that has been a deal breaker for a number of entrepreneurs. Beyond that, we also were able to grant out, it was over 2,000 total $10,000 grants to businesses throughout our region in response to the pandemic, and a number of them are from right here in Henderson. So that's very exciting. A couple of programs that I want to make sure you're aware of is we have a program called Prosperity Initiative. That is for entrepreneurs that are minorities. So what we think of that as is BIPOC, but also women, veterans, those who are disabled, are able to apply for this program. We're starting the component here in August. And the entrepreneur will receive one-on-one technical assistance for up to 6 months paid. And it's really completely customized to wherever that entrepreneur is. Are they in the beginning stages? Have they been going for a while but not prospering like they thought they would? And that's really what this program is based on. It's removing barriers that some entrepreneurs have. Another area that we focus on is early childhood education. So our goal here is to make sure all of our kiddos are ready to learn when they enter kindergarten. It's really hard to catch up if they're not at level by grade 3. We want to make sure they can all be productive members of our society. Also, we're in the middle of a nationwide childcare shortage. I don't know if you guys are really feeling that here or not, but a lot of communities do not have enough childcare providers. So what we're trying to do to help with this is we're actually providing both virtual and in-person trainings for providers and professionals. This is free of charge. And these professionals will get the continuing education credit they need to stay in the field. They have to get certain credits, not only a certain amount per year, but within specific areas. So there's a lot of red tape in this field, which of course, it's our kiddos, we want them to be cared for. So we really try to remove barriers by allowing this free training. We also provided emergency grants to child care providers.
18 providers in this county received just an immediate influx of cash during the pandemic to make sure that they, whatever they needed, keep the lights on, or maybe their food program had some disruption. But we were really happy to be able to play that role again. Also, something I really want to make sure you're aware of is we have a consultant at the foundation. His name is Jeff Andrews. And he will work with a local child care provider that has questions about licensing, curriculum, you name it. He's just a complete guru in this field. It's amazing. He has also worked with centers. He's worked at the community level to try to address any child care shortage issues. And then he did actually work at the LeSueur County level to provide trainings and one-on-one mentoring for child care providers. And he, again, is completely free of charge. So if you know of a provider who's struggling, please send them our way. If you guys are looking to address any issues, please feel free to reach out to him, and I can give you his contact information, of course. But he's a wonderful asset that is there anytime you need it. Then also we do continue to give out books every year. About 25,000 books just left Owatonna to be distributed around the region here in the past month. And your local school district has many times been a recipient of that grant program. It's amazing the power a book can have, not only with parent-child bonding, but an increase in word count. But it's really exciting. So the last area of programming that we have, for top your ears off, is community vitality. And your community has done a fantastic job at harnessing our resources in this area. We are the fiscal host of the Henderson Community Foundation. So that means we do all of the filing for the government, all that back office stuff. So your volunteers can focus on making an impact. But a great thing is the Community Foundation was able to access some relief dollars to Smithville as well during the pandemic. For every dollar they contributed, we contributed 4. So they were able to actually give a grant to the city to pay off, I believe it was pledges that were able to be fulfilled for your grant shop. Just because it changed. People's finances changed at that time. We also were able to contribute to the historic auto society for the operating budget, and then also, the NA's name, Nine. That's what I thought it was. I thought it just called me Nick 2 years ago, honestly. I'm going to Henderson, I'm going to be confused. The 9 pages that are received dollars because they were shut down, so just helping them through that challenging time. So we continue to support the Community Foundation, of course, but then we also have our small town grant, which she received a grant through last year to help with your comprehensive plan. And really that community engagement portion, I believe, is what we were helping to fund. But I know you guys had a couple applications in the current round, which I'm not allowed to talk about yet, but I wish I could. But those will be released, the awards will be released on August 10th, I believe. So keep that in mind, that is a grant round that's going to be every summer, typically open in June, and that's $10,000 to really help your community move forward. You know your community best, we don't. We want to make sure we're positioning you for success. So that's a quick summary of what we've been doing. Do you guys have any questions for me?
So you talked a little bit about LeSueur County. Can you tell me, did you assist with the Andrews Learning Center in Cleveland?
Specifically the grant team?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So that's like a 52-bit, current 52-bit daycare center.
Oh, okay. No, I don't have
And
mine.
they're building on to make it, I think, close to 80.
I'm absolutely sure that Jeff Andrews would have been in touch with them because he's been very embedded. Yeah, he's been completely embedded in their work. That's exciting.
Yes.
Wow. That's wonderful. How are you guys doing here in your community with childcare?
We had a couple daycare schools, but then we had a Montessori school open, which helped.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what everybody does.
I haven't heard anybody complaining about not being able to find anything, but
Okay, good.
it seems to be okay.
I think a lot of people are going out of town, so wherever they work, they're finding daycare where they work,
Right.
in whatever city.
Well, if it's ever anything you want to tackle, we actually did a study a number of years ago that we went down to the city level on how many slots are you actually short for your population. So it was really interesting to see. I can forward you a link to that information. Sometimes people just aren't aware of the need that's there. Maybe you guys are completely fine. But it's kind of it's an interesting field right now. And I'm not surprised at all that you had some closed because the population is kind of aging. childcare providers, especially home-based providers. A lot of them have been in the field for well over 20 years. That just means we're approaching a well-deserved retirement age. So, but if you guys happen to want assistance in that area, please let me know.
Thank you.
And again, thank you so much for your support. All right, let me know if you guys need anything.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Sorry.
They all got up for like part of that presentation. I thought, oh, okay. I don't know what to say. Thank you.
All right.
I'll go back to SEH. They want to do 6 o'clock on the 3rd, will that work?
That's
It would be,
Wednesday.
it would be a Wednesday. It would be, Rachel would update on the flood stuff. Chris would go through the water project, and then Kristen would go through the SEH financing setup for it.
That still works for me.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay, we'll probably start here, and then we'll move on from there. The attorney, don't have anything from Jason, administrator, activity report, I can think of anything real new on there. The library stuff, there's an agreement in here. Keith will maybe have some building stuff, but county did approve the changeover of the staffing and whatever. And they're asking that the city all approve that, as far as they know. Every other city approved that, and that's part of in the background there shows how much money we're going to be getting at the end of the year as the closeout stuff rolls out. And budget and financial and all that kind of stuff. Once that whole alley stuff has been getting pushed off until we get some kind of future capital improvements plan from SEH, and SEH hasn't, Chris really hasn't done anything at all since for a long time, so we haven't updated any of that water stuff or anything. The sales tax and the park stuff, nothing's going on there. I haven't heard anything about if there's going to be any action on the bonding bill, tax bill, or anything like that. Sibley County 6, for the levy stuff, you probably don't know about, for the levy stuff, you probably don't know about. Sibley County 6, we have been meeting on and off, and there'll probably be a presentation in the fall, an update from them, but there won't be any bids this fall. That'll probably open sometime next spring, next March, or some kind of mid to late summer construction levy. Keith can talk about the design team. I think they set up their stuff for meeting yesterday. They had a meeting as to when they're actually going to get going in October. I think that's all I got.
What's the status of all this talk about the motorcycle that's going up for bids? What's the process on that?
It's whatever. It's however you sell a vehicle or a piece of equipment.
Oh, so that's Eric doing it?
Yeah.
Well, is it going to be advertised?
I don't know what's after you see something for a year or longer or something, then there's a procedure.
You have to advertise it and then you take seal bids.
So that'll be advertised in.
Whenever
Talk to Eric about it.
whenever that timeline comes out, I don't have the timeline to yet.
Okay.
Paris working on catch basins and stuff right now, and he's working on some of the projects that we contracted with him for. Steve's got prices and quotes for the fountain project that's going on out the front here. And we're getting close to getting that done. Getting on with
library, I have an estimate for waterproofing of the old basement from John Henderson. And it is $15,199.46. He's got the scooped out, sawing up the floor, putting dimple board on, drain tile down below, clean all that together. It needs to be done. The money that comes out of the reorganization of the library in Sibley County.
Yeah, I can photo that.
Well, how is that money allocated? I mean, where were you?
But it's like it's on the sheet here. It shows down, okay.
Oh,
I think we'll, somewhere here, it should do it, track it off. Maybe we don't have on that one, I think we get about 12 or 13,000 back from what I could get the last time.
is that earmarked for
Nothing.
nothing?
You can go to the general fund, it's money.
Okay.
Money comes back.
Okay. So there would be something there for that.
Right.
Okay.
Do we make a motion to approve that?
I
It's on there.
think it's premature. But I just wanted to know if there was discarded discussion. John gave it to me this afternoon, so it can wait. Or something. If he doesn't, he'd probably like it to wait. So,
Okay, well then part of that, you should approve the service level agreement.
that's for the library.
Correct, which will go into effect, December of this year, which means that the library and that's where we have staff in there, we'll have to stay employees in.
I'll make a motion. Motion made and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Yeah, it's on the park and trail stuff, the trails, nothing is happening, like, that was, we did get, something back last year, stuff like that. That I submitted to, Mr. Wagner, and he hasn't said anything that, to disagree with, he ended up doing 4 different parcels. He put one parcel with the compost site on it, one with the bus garage thing on it, another with the ball field on it.
So this hasn't been totally settled yet? The transition of property.
Oh, it's the agreed, it's,
I wouldn't have been so snarky.
So it's a lease, set 4 separate lease agreements?
four separate parts, yeah, it's all 4 separate pieces. So, and, no, they don't care about that. But, the one thing, it's still got to review a little bit more and talk to them, they did an analysis of the building itself, and basically, the building, we're gonna have to keep as it is. I mean, as far as using it or improving it as anything more than that, it's basically the guy said, maybe we'll tear it down. If you think you wanna, don't bother putting.
Oh, I mean, in terms of, yeah, because it's an egg building.
Yeah.
It's not built to carry a ceiling weight.
You're doing it, don't change the use of what's there. You don't go any higher level, you don't wanna do offices or anything like that up there, you know, so.
I don't think that.
No, I mean, you don't want to make it into a viable, center for thinking 10 years from now, you're making the management park and street and whatever. If you're gonna do that, that's fine, you got the space to do it, and you got the footprint to do it, but you're not gonna do it with that structure. That structure will go away and you put a whole new structure up there. You know, so that takes out a lot of the potential costs might have been there as far as landscaping and doing whatever we also need to bring water and stuff in, and I'm thinking where we're gonna come with that is from the east, from the Oakville Lakes subdivision. So once, and that's part of why, that's part of what Subaru and that Super Mines had to do. They had to figure out exactly where property lines and main property lines and everything all are, and then what we're gonna give back to the school district and what the city can keep, get access for water and sewer and drainage and all that kind of stuff. So, but those plans are done, I haven't shared them anyway. Yeah, or other than land and land, did the same thing. Yeah, that's land and gave for that kind of thing. You know, so now I
So that's not, Steve?
What's that?
Steve, you tried it.
Well, they got that part down out there. I did get a bill. I think he wants to get paid for what he's got done. So I just need somebody to have to approve whatever.
put it with the bill then.
I'm donating something towards it. The bond. And, I know we didn't finish the steps, but we wanted to finish the steps.
Is it on there or is it all about?
Actually, the bill was whatever the doors on. Something was
$7,200.
Oh, $7,226.26.
I guess I thought he was finishing his steps, but apparently not.
well, he claimed he didn't have it in the bid, but I thought he said that he was going to include that.
Well, then, yes, when the lady came and talked, he said, yeah, I'll put that all in there, and I'll send you a proposal on Monday, and she never sent it. If she sent me something, it must have buried my email address or something, because I never got an email from her. She said she was gonna send me that too, but I never got that. And so this is the guy who dropped, but he said the guy dropped it off.
And according to Corey, all the pump shows up that might be running by the weekend.
Yeah, we still got to pay the pumps and stuff like that, we got to do the report, we got to pay that, so that may be done, something about $10,000.
And do we have that budgeted?
Well, we had some of it budgeted, and then some of it is being applied for through some nonprofits and the foundation.
So it's going to be taken care
Yeah,
of?
that part of the project, I think we're good.
Well, I was just thinking, we got a check for $2,000 from the movie.
Wait,
And then,
yeah, there's money available to finish that anyway.
okay.
And then, then they got one more project to work on.
Now we're working on some grants and Allison is ready. For a grant with the foundation.
But yeah, so it's legitimate to, if we think we're done with this guy, it's legitimate to pay him, yeah.
Well, that's not a contract with the steps, but paying for what he's done.
I guess we have to come back, those steps have been, crazy, gonna do that
some solution to that dilemma. I mean, the city administrator thing is a little further off. I don't know how we handle the water billing and stuff like that in the interim.
Can we advertise for a person
For the,
water and billing?
I mean, water billing is, you guys don't realize how little is within the water bill. But I need somebody for
So learn that, so learn this other stuff.
just finance stuff. I mean, right now, when you look at the bills and whatever, we're more, it's close, you can probably get by with it tonight for how we're paying it. But there's no income, there's no detail on the bills, and they're not coded. And I can do that, but that's not part of the process. It's supposed to be checks and balances, and then these guys gotta do, it's more than 20 minutes of doing that, so then basically, they're gonna have to spend a couple hours going through everything, bills and coding and, whatever.
so we need to look at your success more importantly than anything else. Yes?
Well, I don't know what the proper steps are. I mean, you're gonna need somebody with some accounting capabilities. Or
Right.
you're gonna have to hire somebody with those capabilities. Whether it be a contract person like Diane was, or whether it be a firm, or whether it be,
Would that solve our current problem with the checks and balances?
well, I mean, a firm would solve the problem because you would be able to do it. I mean,
Right.
so one proposal that was out there before Diane came in was having Abby do bills, or anybody like that. I mean, that's really, the bill should go to somebody else signing it.
Yeah.
And that person or group or company, once they get those, should take those and code them and put them, whether they're general or water or sewer or wherever they're at. And then once they do that, they should enter those, and then I'm supposed to check to make sure that they're coded correctly. And then once they're coded correctly, these two are supposed to look at, compare the bills and the coding and make sure it makes any sense, and then compare that to the end of the month balances to make sure we got money in the checkbook to pay for whatever. So this time what we did, basically I took all the totals of every bill that we got, and it just said that's the total, and that's the check you're gonna get. I mean, before we actually do those, pay those vendors, somehow we're gonna have to figure out a way to get those bills coded the way they're supposed to, or else somebody later is gonna have to come in and recode them all, and then we're gonna get jacked up by the auditors.
Have any idea what it would cost for somebody like,
$2,000 probably.
a month?
I like the arrangement that we have with Diane, if we could find somebody in that position, because even though she wasn't in the office a lot, it was a person in the office.
Is it, and Diane's, did she have a special qualification?
Diane had 20 years experience as, in city government. I mean, so we paid Diane the first go around for all three clerk administrator training schools, and I mean, Diane originally got hired here as a grant we put together when Brian Cole was here for the economic development school center. So that she stayed here as a part-time person, and she also worked here, the city, to do the full-time stuff. While she was doing that, she spent each year going to St. Paul to get trained as a clerk. She stayed here for 10 years.
But that's a critical part in order to have real checks and balances.
She stayed here for 10 years, and then went to Gaylord and Norwood and someplace else with that job, and eventually quit that. But she still has those same quality and credentials. So
I really think we need to get some of that in the office, because that is the biggest complaint I hear.
I know that but we're faced with replacing him basically in the spring, if not sooner. And also, if we make that position in the office a full-time position, salaries have gone up so much in city government. I mean, they're paying, sewer's paying $130,000 for its city administrator.
But even if we have a replacement there for Ron, there's still down the road is going to need a need for checks and balances.
Exactly.
That person alone won't be able to do it.
Right. That's the only reason I like the idea of going to Abdul.
There's people like Diane who are professional to do, there are people that do that kind of thing. But it doesn't, but they're not necessarily going to be here. But I still, you know, I still fail to realize or understand or grasp what the importance or what value is actually, you actually perceive a value to be for someone to basically just be sitting in the office. I mean,
Well, there's a lot of older people that want to pay their water bills in cash.
there's actually one.
Well, the front one that complains.
Right, there's one out of 422.
Can't she pay in cash instead?
She does. She comes in, she comes in a couple times, you know, sometimes we're here, I'm here, to answer, sometimes not. But
Can't she just stick it in the box?
no, doesn't, no.
She needs change?
No, this is elderly, she needs some assistance to see if the bill is a 20 or if it's 100, or if it's a 1 or if it's a 5. You know, so that's...
So how many vacations have you taken on that?
Yeah.
Well, let's shut up and watch.
But
I want somebody sitting in there that can replace the our people.
Okay, but that doesn't help us in the short term. Because the short term is we have to find some way to get the checks and balances and stay ahead of the auditors in the short term.
So if we were to bring somebody in part-time who would do that, do they have to have that training up front, or can they get that as down the road as they progress?
if you're saying, am I going to train, I mean, if you're asking, am I going to train them? I don't know, depends on how much training they're going to need.
But would they qualify to do the checks and balances?
In the 40 years I've been here, we've had 25 people or more that fit that category. And yes, that's possible, you know, to do that. And we went out, but that's it. Then if you're dating that person, is that your purpose, or is the purpose, if it's not two people, then you're looking at that person to maybe eventually become the treasurer or something. But like I said, I still am being confused with, or not confused, but would you want that person to eventually evolve into being an administrator type person?
No.
Because you can't do both functions.
No, I would not want that person to evolve into that.
You need a part-time accounts payable, accounts receivable clerk who's willing to be in the office and do other clerical work as necessary, have set office hours that said person would be there so that the public would know when they could call or stop in and be able to deal with something.
But you gotta weigh the cost.
Yes.
And you can ask them in that house if you want, but if I can hire a firm for $2,000 a month versus $3,000 or $4,000 a month or whatever it is, I have to go with $2,000 because I'm here as a taxpayer, not my own.
Oh, we hired Diane for 2,000.
Right. I can deal with that.
Do that.
But I'm saying,
What's that?
there about claims and sewer.
I mean, I think if we could get somebody on a contract for $2,000 a month and train them to do the stuff that hand did, I think that's a best result.
But yeah,
I'm gonna be okay with that.
if we can get to that.
You don't make them work 6 hours a day, or you make them work 2 or 3.
Yeah, we could have some hours, 9 to midnight or something.
That's what we were paying Diane, $2,000.
$2,000, and she was maybe in here 4 or 6 hours a week, you know, and that was more than what her goal was supposed to be. The goal was supposed to be to take that laptop that we spent $2,000 on and make that something that was going to be used as an off-site thing, and right now that laptop is loaded. I mean, so it's never been utilized for that whole internal control purpose. I mean, it's been just, well, James will eventually be able to use it as a backup computer to do utility billing at some point, well, not too far out of date, but
So should we advertise for the part-time position and the salary is $2,000 a month and see what applicants we get? If we get any qualified
How many hours do you think?
applicants?
well, unless you just put it together and, you know, if you're thinking that there are people like Shepard or other places that would take it on. I mean, and, you know, Diane wasn't a company before she started. I mean, an individual who wanted to do it on a salary basis could do what Beth just suggested. I mean, they could be the accounts payable, accounts receivable person. That's what Avenue is. I mean, Avenue is accounts payable, accounts receivable. Only they're fancier because they're governmental. And I mean, I don't know if one point Shepard did local government audits and things like that. I mean, there are people that do payroll, you know, that are out there. And that might be something else, that probably will be something else that not yet. I guess I didn't even put that together, but right now I do payroll. And if you're assuming I'm gone in May, somebody else has to do payroll and do, you know, so and there's a lot of people that do the contract on payroll kind of thing. But you might be able to find some local people like Randy's talking about that are willing to go there.
And why are we gonna advertise for when you retire? I mean, this ball's going forward.
And to that, you had talked to me about John Anderson's brother-in-law.
Yeah.
I talked to John today. And it would be John's wife's brother, who's a post. Who is down in Arizona with urban studies, master's.
Did I already get that out?
Well, you still have to put in time. I didn't have the attention span for it. What's that?
Would be willing to move here?
It sounds like he's interested.
Arizona, Minnesota, that's quite a...
Well, he's from here,
Oh, okay.
from Lakewood. So, you know, there are some possibilities there, and I want to talk to him. I told John to insist that he call me, so perhaps we can solve our...
He's got, I believe, the qualifications for city administrator. He's never done one.
Well, as far as Rich hasn't won before.
Great.
Well, I'd like to go back to the other thing, and I would make the motion that we advertise for a part-time person, 6 hours a week, 2 hours Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the office, doing accounts receivable and payable, at a rate of $2,000 a month.
As a contract person.
As a contract person.
Second?
Does that work as far as how your building and stuff goes? I mean, it's got to kind of go and see what that, you can't just say 2 hours Monday, Wednesday.
You can do whatever, but I don't see set hours and so many hours, and I just don't see it coming out, because this city council meeting week, you need 18 hours, end of the month for water bills, you need 14 hours, payroll at the end of each month, which doubles up with, depending on whether it's water bills or whether it's...
Maybe we only have a couple of days a week, but that would make it
Yeah,
honest.
maybe you just say, here's your
And the rest of the
duties.
time it's hit and miss.
Yes, that's how, but Diane's was so much fun. He had a job description, and he had a job.
Flexible, we could put the hours or something.
Okay, I'll include that.
All right. Now, do I have a second? Motion made and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion made and carried.
Basically, what I'm doing is taking Diane's job description and re-advertising it as a contract employee, which then would thereby some local people want to go ahead and put together the qualifications they can, because some firm wants to come in and put their qualifications together. They can, and then you just evaluate.
We have the back page of the Galaxy this coming week, so that would be good penetration.
Okay.
You know,
So
so-
tell me week after when, and then next Monday too.
As of next week.
But when
It'll be in the Gaylord paper.
do you need that?
Huh?
When do you need that?
Monday, yes.
Where does it skip this month?
All right. Design team.
Can I just say something under other? I think for visitors, we should limit their presentations to no more than 5 or 10 minutes.
Yes, I agree.
And I will make that a motion.
I like that.
Usually there is a limit.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye. I'm not against it just because it wasted an hour and 15 minutes.
Well, on 8 people, I mean, it took an hour.
It took over.
An hour to go to an hour.
Yeah.
It's only 2:45, I mean.
We need to practice.
But it's still according to 4.
Yeah. That don't happen to me as long as the fire.
I shouldn't even be home yet.
That'll be like that, as long as the smoke detector went off.
All right, back to the design team. It was going to be this spring. It's been moved to this fall because of COVID. It's a group of architects, might be 15 architects that come down, evaluate the city, do some mass meetings, community input for ideas, things to address, and come up with a set of recommendations that we can use going forward.
So put it in your calendars now,
Yeah.
because we would like all city council members at this.
Do you want that date to look at, right?
October 7th, 8th, and 9th. Or 6th through well, they come Thursday night, but you wouldn't have to do anything on Thursday night unless you wanted just to come greet them. But it will be
Mary